Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Choices, Finding Your Joy. I am so happy to have everyone joining us today, and I am so happy today. Oh, and my choice today for the beautiful lady that I am interviewing today, I'm so happy to share her with everyone today. I'm thrilled to have with us today Melany Oliver. She's here from the awesome city of Dubai. And it's just so wonderful that we can connect with so many beautiful people around the world. So first off, Melany, I want to say welcome, honey.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula. Nice to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you here. Melany is a holistic therapist. She's a spiritual mentor, an intuitive healer. I mean, she does so much. Tell us a bit about your background and what brought you to where you're at today, Melany.
Sure. So I basically grew up in Dubai, and I'm still here. I'm actually half Brazilian, half English. And in the summers, we used to go back to Brazil a lot. And I don't know if you've been to Brazil or you know anything about Brazil.
Yeah.
It's a very spiritual country anyway. So there's a lot of, especially where I'm from in Brazil, which is Bahia. So it's very, mystical. There's lots of rituals. And so I was always really exposed to spirituality and, mediumship and all of this energy world, basically, which always fascinated me. My grandmother and my aunt used to take me to these spiritual centers in Brazil to get my energy cleansed, to do, crystal healing or speak to spirit doctors. So I was really exposed to it from a young age, and it kind of just led on from there. So in my gap year, before going to university, I took a gap year because I didn't actually know what to do. And so throughout the gap year, I started to explore these different types of energy healing and, natural therapies. And that's when I realized that actually I kind of like this, And so I looked for more academic courses, and I did a degree in holistic and complementary therapies in London, in the University of Westminster. And from then on, it just, obviously, as you know, this is a journey. And I learned everything from Reiki, NLP, hypnotherapy, theta healing, access consciousness, Akashic records. And it just, the journey continues, really. So that's kind of my story in short.
Oh,
yeah.
Love it. I love it. Oh, and I just can't imagine what it's been like to go through those trainings and the things you've learned and felt. It's life-changing.
Totally. And I think everything adds a little bit more to the toolbox, and I don't believe that there's just one way for everything. I believe in a holistic approach. So I do still use, these all the tools that I've learned as and when I need it. And yeah, I love it. And I think it's something that I'll continue to learn and to grow. And it's a process, and it's always evolving.
It is. And you know what? I love that, the toolbox. And what I call it in the line of, Reiki, because I've had Reiki and shamanism, serenity vibration, the different healings that we do, but
yeah,
I call it like, it's my Reiki soup, Yeah. I got the pot and I learn Reiki and I add this modality or maybe work with essential oils, maybe, but it's like the toolbox. It's our pot of soup. And isn't it
totally?
It can be so unique for each one of us.
I was just about to say that. I think everybody makes it their own.
Yeah.
And with all these different tools, you learn, well, you use it in your own way. And that's what makes it unique for everyone.
Yes.
Blending all of this together, which is nice.
Oh, it just makes it so fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. And I know you do help with trauma, someone that's gone through trauma. And tell us about what are some of the effects that trauma have? on people that trauma has?
Sure, but first I would like to define what trauma is, if
Excellent.
that's okay.
Love
Because a lot of people, when they hear the word trauma, they immediately think physical. You know, like a physical trauma, someone being raped or physically abused, or, you know, a disaster, natural disaster. And yes, of course, that's trauma. However, there's also emotional trauma, and there's also psychological trauma. And a lot of the times I work with all three, but I want to emphasize the importance of emotional and psychological trauma, which people easily dismiss, and they don't see it as trauma, and they don't realize the impact it has on their life much later.
Yes.
So I can give you an example of a client. I mean, this is a little, let's say a little trauma. So she came to me and she says she was having creative blocks, and we only did a reading, but when I actually scanned her energy, I actually saw that she didn't have a creative block. She was very creative and had all these ideas, and, you know, and I was seeing all these, you know, creative forces in her field, but then she wasn't able to implement and to follow through with her creativity. And that's where it got stuck. And I saw, basically I worked through images and, you know, intuitively with sound. And so I saw the energy of it trickle down and got stuck in her solar plexus chakra. And I saw a big hand like this saying, "You can't." And so I asked her, you know, "Have you ever been told that you can't do something?" And she said, "My mother used to tell me this all the time when I was young." And this was the block. It wasn't that she had a creative block. She had a little voice in her head that, you know, "You can't do this." And this is so important, because when we are a child, our conscious and subconscious mind is not formed. So anything that our parents say or anybody says leaves a little seed, you know, it implants a belief right there.
Wow. Oh.
So that's just a little example of what a big impact. And she wasn't able to follow through with her dreams, with, you know, just everything that she started, she would stop. So then that I would suggest to go back and do, and we didn't continue, but for that case, I would have done inner child work, forgiveness work, reframing, belief work. So that was just an example of the impact it can have.
Yes. And, you know, so those small traumas and feelings that we hold with us, you know, from childhood to adulthood, we may not even realize because it's in our subconscious.
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, that's a good point, because sometimes something so small like that, when we look back as an adult, we can dismiss it, because we will think or say to ourselves, "Oh, that was nothing."
Uh-huh.
Because obviously, as an adult, when you're looking back now, logically you can see that, you know, you survived, you're okay, you're safe. Yeah. However, what you're dealing with is you're not healing or dealing with you as an adult. Mm-hmm. That part of you back in time is stuck. There's like an energy that is frozen in time and space. And that is the trauma. And normally what I have found with working with so many clients with especially inner child, you know, trauma, mm-hmm. when you go back and you release that trauma immediately, you know, you will feel the feelings that you felt back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't necessarily feel it now, but when you reconnect with that part, that trauma, then all the feelings come up. So that's why a lot of people dismiss it, because they don't necessarily in this moment feel mm-hmm. the hurt or the pain or whatever they went through back then.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're holding it. And you help others to work through that, don't you? And make those changes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Can I share with you another example?
Please, yes.
Which just came to my mind now. So I had a client who, and this also anyway, I'll share the example and you can see. So I had a client who she couldn't attract men. She couldn't attract a relationship. She said she would attract men, but they wouldn't commit. They would just disappear. So we started doing some EFT to release, the release the resistance, and it ended up basically 20 minutes into it, she started crying. And I asked her, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? And basically she saw an image of herself at 4 years old. And in that moment, her father was looking after her. And it could have just been for 10 minutes. We don't know how long it was, but her father, maybe he was in the kitchen, maybe he was on the phone, we don't know, but she was left alone. And that created such a big impact in her psyche. She was crying, she was traumatized, and she felt alone and in despair. And she created a belief back then that all men leave me. Men cannot be trusted. So, and by the way, her parents were still together. She had a good relationship with her father. That's why when a lot of the times these traumas, they're not logical. They're illogical, and you're not dealing in the now, you're dealing with your inner child, with situations mainly in the past. So anyway, so we did, inner child healing. We released all the hurt and pain, reframed, released all the beliefs, forgiveness for the father at that age, not in the now. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was 2 months later, she met someone that was at least, able to commit. I'm not sure what happened after that, but she messaged me saying that she met someone that was going to commit. So that was,
wow.
That was interesting. Yeah.
I love it. And you do all sorts of things, don't you? You have attunements. You have what you call the heart paths. I mean, you really have some spectacular techniques that you've created. Would you like to share about any of those?
Sure, yeah. So actually, all three of all of my programs is a combination of everything, all the tools that I have learned along my journey, and I've literally handpicked what worked, what didn't work, and especially for so I have two main love programs. So it's the Healing the Broken Heart and the Complete Heart Attunement. So after years of treating women who were, heartbroken and just emotionally wounded, mm-hmm. I managed to see a pattern, in terms of, I guess you can say, a process. Mm-hmm. So releasing the overwhelm and the resistance, doing inner child work, reframing. And I created these programs based on my observations, really. And the Heart Path is more of a self-development program. And that's for anyone who's interested in learning the tools to help themselves to evolve spiritually and help them deal with their own blocks and their own sort of traumas as well.
Yes. How can someone get a hold of you to work with you? And can someone be on the other side of the world? Do you work through Skype, or tell us about
Absolutely. I work through Skype. Actually, at the moment, I only do Skype sessions, one-on-ones, and I am actually doing a retreat in a couple of weeks in Nepal, and retreats and workshops and groups I do in person, but mainly I work through Skype. So you can go to my website. It's Melany with a Y, melanyoliverhealing.com. And you can find me there. You can follow me on social media. I've got a Facebook and an Instagram, which I do post daily, some, inspiration every day. And it's melany.oliver. And you can follow me and find me on there.
What would you say is one of your most powerful messages that you offer to your clients that do have something that they're holding, or something they want to change, finding that true love, finding a good relationship? What type of inspiration do you give them?
Okay, so the number one message is to process your emotions.
Awesome.
And that is something that maybe people don't want to hear
Uh-huh.
because a lot of these emotions are painful, they're hurtful, and nobody wants to deal with their negative, traumatic, horrible, disempowering emotions. So a lot of people will try to bypass it or do it quickly or try to process it in their heads. And when you're carrying these negative, heavy emotions in your body, the only way out is to actually really process it so that you can embody the wisdom of the experiences. I know that that's not, inspiring because it's tough. It's not easy. But if I had to give a number one message, that would be it, really, from my experience.
And what's great about that, though, is it shows that there is a path that we can go on to free ourselves from that, isn't there?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. There is. Another thing that I would say as well is, especially if you're really stuck and if you have, a lot of deep trauma, get help. Because most likely you're not going to be able to do it alone. Mm-hmm. And you need somebody there to acknowledge your pain. This is what I found on my journey, and to support you and to guide you and to hold you there in that space so that you can truly process the emotion fully and completely.
Yeah. And it must be wonderful to work with so many people and help them along this line. It
is.
It must just be a passion for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And what's best is, most of the time they come to me and they're in a big dark hole, uh-huh. And they can't see the light on the other side. And getting them from that dark space and laughing with them, on the other side and saying, do you remember, when you came to me a few months ago, and then experiencing this, being at their darkest places, and then walking them through and getting them to the other side where they're actually laughing and smiling. That's just awesome.
Oh, that must make you feel so good.
It makes me happy. Yeah.
Gosh, I love it, Melany. Oh, do you have any other stories or examples that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So I'll give you some more examples about love, because that's really my main sort of clientele. I had a client who came to me and he was never able to get into a relationship, and he was around 36 at the time. And he said he wanted to get married, but no woman wants him. He's asked women out and he just wasn't able to not even have a relationship. So anyway, we started working together, and when we got to the root cause, when he was 7 years old, he was sent to boarding school. And he was the only child. And in that moment, he created a belief that I am not important. I'm not lovable. And so he replayed that. All the women rejecting him, he's not important, he's not lovable. And the minute that we released that and healed that, a month and a half later, he met his future wife. A year later, he married her, and I was invited to the wedding as well. So that was really nice as well. And actually, just on that note, a lot of traumas, the root cause is always about loving and accepting yourself.
Oh,
wow. The core is always about self-worth. And then from there, then you can start to build, self-esteem and start to love and accept yourself. And once you can do that, then, your whole life changes. It's not just about relationships. Mm-hmm. It's about your relationship to the world, with your career, with money, with everything, with your health as well is a big one. Yeah.
So that's the beginning. That's the core, is that love and acceptance of yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. pretty much in every case. It's always about that. And even though I say that, again, I wanted to reiterate my message, which is a lot of people know this logically, and they'll try to do it logically and do all these things, self-care is important. But however, if the emotion is still there inside your body, you can do everything, all these things, and it won't matter. It's the emotion that you need to release, the emotion of unworthiness, of unloved, or whatever it is. Then once that's released, then you can start to do this. I mean, not that you wouldn't do it before, but then start truly loving yourself from a different energy. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because, when they bring in that love and acceptance of themselves, I can imagine how that changes the energy. And of course, that's what vibrates out. And there you go.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
Starts a flow. Oh, gosh, isn't that wonderful? And it's so wonderful to know that, with having that things that we hold inside us, and we're, I would think everyone has something. Everyone has, different things and that we carry on. And that first step of accepting and loving ourselves, that's a huge one, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I actually think that is a journey on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always things that come up, and it's really just about going deeper and deeper into that.
And it's so easy, Melany, to base our approval of ourselves on what other people think of us. It's so easy to have that happen. It really is.
Yeah, and actually that also stems from wounds, emotional wounds. So the more that you can heal your wounds, the less you'll need other people's approval.
Yeah.
Of yourself.
Yeah.
And this is a very subtle thing, isn't it, Paula? Like we do it unconsciously.
Yes.
Seeking approval without even knowing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, little things can make great changes, can't they? Changing little.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
It's so exciting, and it's so wonderful what you're doing, Melany. And, really that's such a powerful message to get out there. It really is.
Yeah, and especially I think that, there's a lot of emphasis on thinking positive and, law of attraction, and you have to be positive and feel good. And yes, that's great. But if you have traumas and emotions inside you, you can do that all you want, and you will still be repeating the same patterns.
Because it's like a weight pulling you down, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's inside your body, it's in your consciousness. It's a pattern inside your consciousness. So until you go and deal with those negative emotions or suppressed emotions, trapped, toxic emotions, whatever you want to call it, you can try all you want, but you will still remain stuck. And this is important because I have come across a lot of clients who say, oh, but, I'm trying to be positive. I'm like, yes, I understand that, and that's great. However, you've got all of this to deal with. You need to process that first before you can, start thinking positive and feeling positive. And the thing is, when you have all these negative emotions and suppressed emotions, you won't be able to truly, fully feel joy and, love and accept yourself with these emotions. You suppress everything. It will be like a false or a fake sense of joy and happiness on some level. Yeah. And I've seen that too. It's, yes, I'm happy, but they're not. It's just like an underlying tone, and they don't know why, but it's basically because they've suppressed all of their stuff. Yeah. And they're not able to feel joy as much as they try to be positive. There's this, all their stuff is still within them.
Yeah. So
that's
how would someone come to know really what they need to let go of? I mean, how do we figure that out?
So I always look at patterns. So what patterns are they repeating in their life? There's always a pattern that you're stuck in, and it will be different for different people. For the clients that I treat, mainly it's love and relationships. And I always go back to how that makes them feel. And then I trace the feeling basically back to childhood and see, you know, what situation or who made them feel like that first.
Yeah.
So patterns, and then the recurrent feelings. Like, what feelings do you always get angry, or are you always sad? Do you always feel victimized? Like, what is the pattern?
Yeah, that's true, because, you know, with different people, you can see or feel, even with yourself, things that might trigger anger or trigger unhappiness in you, and you really don't know why.
Yeah, exactly. And you said the right word, trigger. So if you're triggered, people can only trigger you if you have an emotional wound or traumas.
Yeah. And you know, they are able to find that and release it and let it go. You're
absolutely
for that. Yeah.
But also they have to have the right intention when they go to a therapist or a healer or a counselor or psychologist. There are some people that don't truly want to let go.
Yeah.
So you need to really be, you know, accountable and responsible for your emotions, and not dump your emotions on the healer or the therapist, because that will never work. You need to truly process it
and let it go
within yourself.
Melany, we have about 2 minutes left in the show. So what last words would you like to share with everyone?
Well, my message is always to process your emotions, and once you do that, you'll be able to set yourself free from whatever pattern it is that you're stuck in.
I love it. And if anyone has any questions, I know they can contact you. And, you know, this will probably give a lot of people something to think about. This
I hope so.
Information. You changed lives, Melany. I want to really thank you for that.
Thank you for inviting me here and sharing my message.
Oh, I'm just so honored, and thank you. And it's just fantastic to have connected with you. And
thank
everyone,
you,
thank you for joining us. And see you next week. Melany, big love, hugs, and blessings. Love, hugs, and blessings to everyone.
Bye.